People often ask about perfectionism, and it's a common misunderstanding of perfectionism that it's something that's just natural or is a positive attribute to something that's desirable, something that we would want to have because it makes us better at what we do and it makes us more diligent and more professional and more committed and more persistent, more disciplined. These are all different things than what the true meaning of perfectionism is. And here's the other important thing to understand about perfectionism. Perfectionism doesn't mean that your life is spotless or looks perfect, or that you're perfectly organized, or that it's at all visible or obvious to anyone else. Perfectionism can show up in different forms and in different ways in different people, depending on their personality and their issues in life and their way of going about things. So here are some of the typical forms that you might see in a perfectionist. There are those who look completely well put together and are always at the top of their game and excel in everything they do. And for those, it's somewhat obvious to others. To others, other perfectionist type people, they give up at an early age because internally they are always trying to be more than what they feel they are capable of achieving. And they get knocked down in life and they begin to feel defeated because they can never live up to their own standards or to the standards of their parents or whoever it is that is expecting a lot of them. And they might even become depressed or anxious or very disorganized, and their life may look quite messy. They can also be just as much a perfectionist internally as someone whose life looks impeccable. Then you have people that are in between, which is most, and they still have that same perfectionist ideal running in them, and their life looks pretty well put together and they are above average in many things that they do, but there's one part of their life, at least one part, or one part of their house that looks messy, unfinished, project that's unfinished, a garage that's full of junk, a room that's neglected. So when you say, hey, I think you might be a perfectionist, they say, no, look at this. I'm not a perfectionist. I haven't even washed my car in 2 weeks. These are all different ways that it'll show up, and they don't all look the same. But the key factor, the commonality, is that for a perfectionist, they never feel finished. They never feel like they are good enough as they are. It doesn't mean that you can't be motivated toward constant growth. It doesn't mean that you aren't excelling and bettering yourself and on a constant path of growth and personal evolution, reaching toward mastery. It doesn't mean any of that. But at its core, the perfectionist feels that they are not good enough in this moment, that there is something missing, that they have an unquenchable need to attain more, do more, prove more, demonstrate more, be good in order to just feel okay. And this never gets turned off because there is no rest for someone who's operating in this way. There's no rest. There's no pause. There's no period of stopping to appreciate and really take in your own accomplishments. There's really no peace. And this perfectionist program creates a tremendous amount of stress, tension, much of which can be very unconscious, but it still has an effect on the body, has an effect on your mood, on your level of real happiness and contentment in life, and it's unnecessary. There are ways to work with that, to undo that, where you can still work on mastering things and perfecting your skills, but not from a perfectionist mindset. It's different. Self-mastery is different than perfectionism. Stay tuned for the next video where I will be giving some tips for ways to use EFT tapping and other tools to work with perfectionism.